This morning, if you can tell, we are recording this college hour. The evening students will be able to view it, and you will be able to view it if you want to see it again. And the students who are not here today will be able to get the same information from the same people that you have the privilege of seeing live this morning. We have two speakers. Our first speaker is Susan Madera. She'll introduce herself, tell you all about her department, what she does, and later we'll hopefully have somebody from Student Affairs, either Ms. Rivera or the Director of Student Affairs himself, Dr. Jean-Pierre. Okay, so your attention, everyone has your paper to write on. Nobody's phones are still turned on, right? Good. Okay, so here's Susan Madera. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Try that again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, that's much better. Now you're waking me up instead of me waking you up. My name is Susan Madera. I'm the academic specialist for HighImpact Practices at Queensborough, and I'd like to welcome you today up to the Medical Arts Building, into this beautiful lecture hall where so many lectures take place, so many events take place, so I hope that you will be here more and more enjoying what the campus has to offer. As I said, I'm in charge of the HighImpact Practices. And look at these students. Do they look familiar to you? It could be you, or you, or you, or you, or you, or even me in this picture. The truth is, I'm a graduate of Queensborough Community College. And I'm not talking about a long, long time ago, but kind of recently. I had a career, I had a family, and then I came back to school to get a degree. So like you, I was starting over in a brand new place. So it was very exciting for me, and I'm sure it's very exciting for you as well. Well, when you come into Queensborough, you're gonna find a lot of students just like you. Our students come from 129 different countries. Isn't that amazing? And 39% speak a language other than English at home. So I would think that that's pretty much all of you. Am I correct? You all speak a language other than English at home. Now, this is when I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. The top 10 countries of origin, this means where the top students come from, are China. How many of you are from China? Jamaica, Guyana, Colombia, South Korea, Ecuador, Trinidad and Tobago, India, Haiti, Dominican Republic. Okay, so as you can see, you're going to find people on the college campus just like you, no matter where you're from. Now, when you come into the college, you're going to come into one of the freshman academies. That's a program of coordinated academic support services. What does that mean? That means that the college decided that we were going to do something different for our incoming students so that you can have the best educational experience so that you will do well in college. Well, when you come in, as I said, you'll come into one of the 6 freshman academies, and you'll see the academies listed up there: business, liberal arts, visual and performing arts, STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but it's so long we cut that down, education, and the health-related sciences. Now, in order to help you do well, we started out with the academies. But the academies are more than just a space, just more than a location or an office for you to go. We have freshman coordinators there. Each academy has at least one freshman coordinator. And those are the people who will help you to get through your first 30 credits at Queensborough. No matter how long it takes you, they're there to assist you. They will be your guides to all of the support on campus, be it tutoring, financial aid, if you're having problems with your Metro card, if you have a question about a professor. These are the people who you will go to. They are there to help you and guide you. That's what we're doing for you on the student services side. But on the academic affairs side, and that's the side I belong to, We focus on the high-impact practices, and I know, what are they? And look at this lovely definition. How long is this? It's a little bit too much to read. But what I want you to focus on is that we are going to get you involved in practices that require that you're actively involved in your own learning. It's no more just sitting in a chair and listening to your professor. We need you to be active, to go places, to do things, to ask questions, to be involved. And we believe, and all the research across the country shows, that when you're involved in these high-impact practices, that not only do you do better, but you're more likely to graduate. And really, isn't that the goal of coming to college? You're not just coming to college because you have nothing to do. You want to graduate, and we want to help you to get that diploma, that degree. Well, we have several high-impact practices at the college, and our goal is for you to participate in at least 2 of them before you're halfway through your degree. Before you reach those 30 credits, we want you to participate in 2 high-impact practices. Well, these are some of them right here. And I'm going to just speak on a few of these today, otherwise I'll be here all day with you. So the first thing we're going to speak about is service learning. Have any of you heard about service learning? Have any of you heard about doing volunteer work? Okay, well this is kind of like volunteer work, but we refocus it on your education. And this is the definition: class assignments that take students' work out into the community. Students learn more about the subject they are studying while making an impact outside of the classroom, encouraging civic engagement. And it's very important. All service learning assignments include reflective writing. So basically, you'll be focusing on your studies in your class, but what you're learning in your class, you're going to be bringing outside of the college campus and working with people in the area to help them. And then you will reflect on that. You'll write and think about how this experience has changed your educational experience. Now, this is kind of detailed, so I don't expect you to read all of it. But what it talks about is Professor David Rothman, who teaches ESL students, and he had a service learning project. And the project focused on something that's really important in our nation today, and that's health and nutrition. We know that in our country we have a huge problem with obesity, and we have problems with children who are not eating the right foods to help their bodies to develop and grow. So the students in his class prepared by studying nutrition in class. And they also used media and various other ways of learning about nutrition. They then worked with some Project Prize students, and they went to the Whole Foods Market in Manhasset. So there they are out in the field. The students got a guided tour, and the ESL students, those BE 207 students, practiced their language and public speaking skills, which is something they would ordinarily do in their class. But they're teaching these things to the Project Prize students. So they're doing something they would normally be doing. They're off campus, and they're helping younger students to learn about what they have taught themselves. So it was a wonderful trip and a great experience for the students. And once they got back into the classroom, they practiced their reading and writing skills with the Project Prize students. So overall, this is what service learning is all about. Doesn't that sound like something interesting? Better than sitting in your classroom all day, right? A little bit something different. Something else that we offer as a high-impact practice is learning communities. Learning communities are where 2 courses taught by 2 different professors have the same students in both classes. And what we do is we integrate the curriculum. What does that mean? Such big words. Well, we really kind of mix them up. The students in one class are the same students in the other class. The professors are different, but they're teaching in a way that the students are learning about both subjects. So here's an example of one of our learning communities. It's a BE 122 learning community, college reading and study skills improvement, linked to a speech communications class. Now, if you look at the description at the bottom, it says it's a service learning community. So these two professors, Professors Kemmerer and Vogel, worked together to prepare a class where the students are reading, they're learning how to study, improve their study skills, and then in their speech communications class, they're actually speaking about what they're learning in the other class. And what they've done is they work with a local school, PS 46, and the students take what they learn in both of those classes and they present lessons on healthy living. And they make commercials for the students, which is a wonderful way for the students to practice what they're learning in the class, as well as to help students outside of the college campus. That's wonderful service learning community combination. Now we're getting to the Common Read, something near and dear to my heart. The Common Read is offered as a common intellectual experience that promotes integrative learning across the curriculum. How many of you are participating in the Common Read by reading The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks right now in your classroom? Yes. Okay, wonderful. And have you attended any of the events? Yes. Okay. Well, right now, our Common Read has almost 1,000 students at Queensborough participating, and for the first time we've invited CLIP to participate, so we're very happy to have you involved and coming to campus and attending these events. We also have students from Cardozo High School and students from Bayside High School, and what we're doing is we're all reading this book at the same time, and it really is allowing us to look from many different points of view to learn about many different things that take place in this book. The Common Read is actually a year-long event. We started last summer. And remember I told you I'm a graduate of Queensborough? Well, it gave me great pleasure to give my old professors a homework assignment. I said, you need to read this book over the summer. And they were not happy about that. But they did it anyway. And then we met in the fall and we had what we call the Common Read Book Club. So we met as a group, the professors and myself, and we discussed all the things that are going on in that book. We talk about Henrietta Lacks. We talk about the doctors in the book. We spoke about cancer. We spoke about the money that was made from selling Henrietta Lacks's immortal cells. And once we finished these great discussions, I said to them, now is the real work. And the real work is for us to find a way to show our students how to make these connections in the text. See, our goal is not only for you to read this in an English class, but for you to think of it as possibly a future biologist. Or maybe think about history. What was going on in the 50s in the South that caused the things to happen that did happen in this book? So faculty got together, and we have created 18 different events that started last week. And I see these two young men in the front, they were at an event also, and they participated. These events work hand in hand with the book. 18 different events. We have faculty from Queensborough running events. We have doctors and lecturers coming from outside of the college to come and speak to you about cancer. And it's all in hopes of having you have a common intellectual experience, learning something more than you normally would do if you were reading this book on your own in your classroom or just at home sitting on your bed or on your couch. We want you involved. We know that this is beneficial to you and exciting. It's a different way to learn. So these are the 3 high-impact practices that I chose to speak to you about today. What we're also doing is we're asking our faculty and students to participate in our Facebook page. So I'm just going to give you a quick look. Every day I post a quote from the book. And my hope is that the faculty and the students will come on and comment on those posts. And it's starting very slowly. You see, we only have a couple of members right now. That's why we need you to join up. Those of you who are reading the book, we want you to join and comment on these quotes. I'm just going to read 1 or 2 for you. Okay, the one I posted yesterday is together, Rita and Vincent used HeLa cells as the springboard to launch the first industrial-scale for-profit cell distribution center. Slowly, a multi-billion-dollar industry selling human biological materials was born. And what they're talking about is how Henrietta Lacks, a woman who in 1951 died of cervical cancer, her cells were taken from her without her knowledge, without her consent, and they are still alive, and they're being used all across the world. You can go online right now and buy her cells. But the sad part is that her family is so poor, they have a very limited education, and they have no medical insurance. So by posting a quote like this, we're asking you to think about what's going on in the book, make connections to yourself, make connections to society today. Another thing we're offering as part of this is really simple, and it's a way for you to learn more about the subject. This is the Queensborough homepage. I'm sure you've seen it many times. Well, if you come down here to the Kurt R. Schmeller Library and click on that, it's going to bring us to the opening page of the library. If we come down here on the left-hand side, it says Come and Read. We click on that. Up here, it says Henrietta Lacks. Now, you see all these different tabs across the top. These are chock full of resources for you to better understand the book, to write a paper, or maybe if you're just interested and you want to learn a little bit more. So this first page actually has an interview with the author, Rebecca Skloot. There's also another interview here. And one of our librarians, Sandra Marcus, has prepared this for you. We also have a writing contest that I'd like to speak to you about ever so briefly. The writing contest has 3 different categories: creative nonfiction essay, poetry, and short story. Notice that the poetry and short story categories are on a subject related to race or health. You don't even have to have read the book for you to participate in this contest. And what's really nice about it is not only are there prizes, you see the prizes here, but the winners will be published. That's a wonderful opportunity for you. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you'd like to find books that relate to the topics covered in The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, you would go to this tab, Find Books, and you see that there are things listed under these headings. Medical ethics, here are 2 books that are recommended. Sociology issues, there's a book that's recommended, and so on. If you'd like to find articles, our librarian, Sandy, has broken down the databases so that you can see which databases to use based on the subject you're interested in. There are also very many online resources. If you click on any one of these, you will find more and more information, again, broken down into categories to make it easier for you. So you see, we have a lot going on at Queensborough. This is not high school. What we are doing with the Common Read and with all the high-impact practices is to give you the tools to help to make you a successful student. And really, it's just as simple as that. With your hard work and us providing this for you, we believe that you will be walking at graduation with your cap and gown, and we'll be applauding you. So that's all I have to share with you today. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you for your great attention this morning. In the back are our next 2 speakers. I see Ms. Gisela Rivera, and also I see Dr. Paul Jean-Pierre, and they are from the Office of Student Affairs. And I was just looking at Dr. Jean-Pierre's title to remember what it is. It says he's the Associate Dean of Student Affairs, and then it says Student Conduct. And I don't know about you when you were younger, but when I was in elementary school, there was a grade on my report card after social studies and English and math and science and handwriting. There was a grade for conduct. And probably the only thing that kept me from getting straight A's was that grade in conduct. So I guess we'll hear more about what conduct is in a community college setting, and I will give them our attention. Thank you very much. Okay, we have.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Gisela Rivera. I work with Dr. Jean-Pierre in the fourth floor of the library building in the Dean of Students office. The Dean of Students office, we do a lot of different things. Oh, am I talking too fast? I'm Puerto Rican from Brooklyn. Any other Puerto Ricans from Brooklyn here? I'm the only one? We talk fast. I'll slow down. Sorry. The Dean of Students office is in the library building room 418, and we do a variety of things there in the Dean's office. Besides conduct, we are also there as a resource for students. If you have an issue with another student, with a faculty person, if you have a question about transferring, we see a variety of different issues. If you are bringing credits in, we would be able to assist you in sort of connecting you with the appropriate offices in case you have any questions. But a big portion of what we do is actually conduct. Does anybody have any idea as to what that might mean? What is conduct? What does that mean? Any ideas? How you conduct yourself on the campus? Yes. How you control yourself, or the way your behavior, you control your behavior. So, yes. How you communicate with other people. Those are all ways that we control ourselves, control our behavior. In a college of this size, there's more than 15,000 students on this campus. You can imagine that we have to have rules as to the way people work and study and deal with each other on campus. Does anybody have any ideas as to what might be a rule that we have here at Queensborough? Any rules that anyone can think of? Any rules that you might have had in a previous school that you think should be a school rule? I'm going to give you an example. I have a phone. My phone is low battery. I take a plug and I put it on the wall, and I walk away from my phone. The young man right here, no offense, sees the phone on the floor, picks up my phone, walks away with my phone. What do you think? Is that a good idea? No. What would you call that? Very good. So you're not allowed to steal on a campus? He found it. It was there. It was unattended. It's still stealing, right? Why? Because the phone didn't just magically appear on the wall. Somebody put it there. I put it there. And I'll be very angry. We actually, unfortunately, have very smart phones. The iPhone has an application where you can put a tracer on it. So we've unfortunately have had cases where someone's phone was taken and then it magically appeared in the parking lot in someone's car. Not the person who belonged to the phone. Someone stole the phone, put it in their car, and we had to call the police. So we definitely want to be mindful of our things. What about another example? What if I have my wallet in my purse sitting on the back of the chair and it falls? Someone else finds it. That is, unless you return it to public safety or to the student, it's stealing. Very good. What's another rule? Give me another example, something else that we would want to go ahead and have at a college of this nature. What's another rule? Yes?
How about taking information from the internet and saying that you wrote it?
Very good. That's actually my colleague's specialty.
You are referring now to the academic integrity policy. You go straight to it. Or should we go back to the rules before we address that? Okay, we'll go back to the rule. Actually, we'll go back and forth? Okay, we'll go back and forth. In terms of academic integrity policy, does anybody know what academic integrity entails? Academic integrity. Yes? without doing what? That's an example. That's an example. That's an example. You can do whatever you want with somebody else's work. By that I mean, you can say, according to Joe Smith, in parentheses, if you want to use the APA style, 2012, people with bipolar depression tend to have a sense of grandiosity. You notice what I did? What did I do? I attributed to Joe Smith what I took from Joe Smith. That's all you need to do. For instance, when you do a literature review, all you have to say is, according to so-and-so, you give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. As long as you cite whatever it is that you are taking from somebody else, it's perfectly fine. It is kosher. That's the way it is done. You want to say something else? Exactly. Of course, if you are taking somebody else's work, if you want to say so-and-so writes or so-and-so says, you put it in quotation. The bottom line with academic integrity policy, I don't want to talk about it in the negative. I want to talk about it in the positive, in the sense that if somebody else is doing your work for you, if during an exam you use your iPhone to call your posse or to send the question to your posse for answers, that has been done, by the way. We usually catch the students, but anyway. If you do that, you probably will end up with an A. However, you have not acquired the knowledge that we want you to acquire to go out there and work in the world of work. You will get an A without acquiring the knowledge, which means that at the end of the day, when you are prepared to leave here, your diploma, you will get a diploma, but it will be null and void because you have not acquired the knowledge. It will be meaningless, and I'm sure you are not here to acquire a meaningless diploma. You are here primarily to learn, voila. You are here to learn. And when you leave here, you want your diploma to mean something, that you have earned it. That's the gist of academic integrity policy. Now let me talk about what happens when a professor catches you violating the policy. The professor has options. The first time, the professor can decide to lower your grade. If you were to get an A, the professor would give you a B. The professor can fail you for that specific test, or the professor can choose to fail you for the whole class. You don't want that. The second incident, then that comes to us. And we have no choice but to take you in front of the disciplinary, faculty and student disciplinary committee. And we are talking then about suspension, in some cases, expulsion. So what I want you to remember about the academic integrity policy is that it is there to give meaning to your diploma. It is there to help you to learn, to help you to do your own work, and to help you to learn how to cite, how to render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. If I take a paragraph, a sentence from somebody else's work, I cannot say that it came from me. I have to give credit to the person who's done the work. That's all that it entails. And you want your diploma, above all, to be meaningful. You are here primarily to learn. Okay? So we want to go back to the rules, to the Henderson Rules.
So the Henderson Rules. So the Henderson Rules, again, are the rules that we have on the campus. And actually, if you leave here and you're very curious and you want to read more regarding the Henderson Rules, if you go to the QCC website and you search Henderson Rules, you'll see actually a link to our office and to the actual rules. There are a lot of rules, actually, and I don't want to go over all of them because I see some of you look very sleepy already. So what we're going to do is that we're going to hit some of the big heavy hitters, the big issues that we tend to see. What's another thing that you would imagine you cannot do on campus? Does anybody have any ideas? I go to my finals, I have all of my tests, and I feel like I want to celebrate a little bit at the end of my finals. Me and my friends, we decide, well, you can bring some Bacardi, you can bring some Coca-Cola, we'll have a party on the track. Will we be able to do that on this campus? What do you think? We're all over 21. Can we have a party on the track with a little? That's universal. Everybody knows what this means, right? Any ideas? Yes. Yes or no? No, no. Alcohol, even if you're over 21, is not allowed on this campus. I would not be able to have a drink. Dr. Jean-Pierre would not be able to have a drink. You all would not be able to have a drink. Unfortunately, you would be surprised how many students believe that they would be able to have a drink on campus. What about smoking? Are there any smokers here? No smokers here at all? No one smokes cigarettes? There you go. Cigarettes. I'm talking about cigarettes. Okay. Are you allowed to smoke cigarettes on campus? No. No. Where would you have to go to smoke cigarettes, sir? Our one person who smokes? Off campus. So either on the other side of one of the parking gates or by one of the exits, you would be able to smoke. There are no smokers here? Really? All right, who's asleep? Who's asleep? All the smokers are sleeping. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, all right. What's something else that you would imagine you would not be able to do on a campus? Any other ideas? Yes, you have an idea. Right there, yes, you. What's something else you wouldn't be able to do on campus? Yeah. Okay. Guns or knives, right? Guns or knives are probably not going to be allowed. Anybody else would agree with that? Right. Everybody would agree with that. Of course, on a campus, the safety of the community is very important. We take very seriously someone coming onto campus with any kind of a weapon. And you can interpret a weapon in many different ways. We've had cases where students have brought in scissors, the sharp scissors, the shears. And of course, if we show someone something like that, we could end up in the office with us having to deal with some kind of result of bringing weapons to campus. That's very good. What about how many people here have seen fights in school? Fights in school? Yes, you've seen fights in school. So what do you think would happen on a campus like ours with fights? I'm sorry? It definitely is breaking the rules. Depending on the type of fight, it might even be something where we have to call the police for, unfortunately. In most cases, when you have a lot of people, everyone has different views and different ideas. We need to be able to respect those views and ideas, and if there is a fight on campus, we have to go ahead and deal with it, usually with suspension from both parties, because you never really know what started the argument or who's going to continue with the argument. Any other ideas? Any other? Yes. It's a good question. They have to respect each other. That's right. That's right.
You are referring to mutual respect, which is one of the values, of this institution. We have students from 130 different countries, so it is imperative that we respect one another, that we don't have to like one another, we don't have to hold hands and sing kumbaya. However, we do have to show understanding and respect. The bottom line with all those rules that Gisela is referring to, the bottom line is to provide you with a safe climate, because without a safe and secure climate, no learning can take place. The research bears that out. In addition, in terms of rules, there are a lot of students who tend to walk in class late. What does that do when you walk in late? What does it do? I can't hear you. Exactly. What happens is that you do disturb the whole educational process, which of course shows a total lack of respect for your peers and for your professors. By the way, that's one of the Henderson Rules, which the professor can use to actually kick you out of class for that day. And if that persists, the professor can conceivably refer you to us. So mutual respect, yes, that's extremely important. And by walking to class late, you are showing a total lack of respect for your peers and for your professors and for the educational process. But above all, remember that those rules are there to protect you and to protect us. No drugs and alcohols, no weapons of any kind. You must be in class early. And of course, some students claim that in the middle of the class, they raise their hands and they claim that they have to use the personal convenience center. We ask that you do that before you go to class or after class. When you walk out of class and you walk back in, you are disturbing the educational process. You need to show respect, as you suggested. That's one of the values of this institution, as I said earlier. Do you want to continue or you want to close it? So the bottom line is that those rules are there to protect you and to protect us. Without a safe climate, no learning can take place. We are there, believe it or not, to protect your rights. If you feel that another student is disturbing you in any way, we need to know. If you feel that a staff member is disturbing you, is interfering with your education in any way, we need to know. If a professor you feel is treating you unfairly and is disturbing you, we need to know. That's what we do. We are there to protect you and to protect your rights and to protect ourselves. Any question? Yes? I'm having difficulty hearing you. Can you stand up if you don't mind? Yes. Absolutely. By the way, this is not a military, but we prefer that you use the chain of command. If you are having difficulty with a professor, the first thing to do is to speak with that professor. Then there is always a chair in the department, and in your case, you have Dr. Berkowitz, right? So you refer the matter to Dr. Berkowitz. If you're not satisfied, then you can come see us. Now, in terms of changing a class, the logistics are usually very difficult, especially in the middle. We are in the third week or the fourth week already. The logistics are almost impossible, but we will help. That's why we are there. Any other question? By the way, we are located in the library building, room 418. Although we might have sounded somewhat stern, we are there to help you, and I do therapy, so I am not as harsh as I sound. But the rules we have to abide by. Without rules and regulations, you have dismal chaos, and we do not want that. We want you to feel safe so that you can learn. Any question? Yes?
Well, I'm very proud to say that the CLIP students generally don't break a lot of rules because they have to sign a contract at the beginning of every semester, and they're, continually reminded of what the rules are. I would like to know what a student should do if they observe other students breaking rules that may cause potential harm or danger.
That's a very interesting question. What I do know is that just like with the police department, you have the blue code. I think with students, you have that you have that code where you don't snitch, you don't report on your fellow students. But if you are concerned about your safety and ours, and you do observe something, you would report it. Did I answer that diplomatically? Okay, then you would report it so that we can address it. By the way, yes. By the way, you should behave as if we had a camera everywhere. We do, except in the personal convenience centers. We do not. We cannot have that. It's illegal. But you should behave as if you had a camera wherever you are. Let me give you a very classic example. You know where the pergola is next to the gallery? Okay, by the Great Lawn, we call it. Last summer, after finals, some students decided to have a party. The party consisted of not only the illegal cigarettes that they smoke, but also there was a bottle of vodka there. They had everything outside. They were behaving as if they were in their own backyard. In the meantime, while they were doing all this, guess who was watching them? Public safety, because we have cameras. So public safety was watching the show. And while they were smoking and imbibing, guess what happened? Public safety went there in full force and got them. Of course, they ended up in my office. And since we have a rule against smoking and drinking on campus, we ended up taking actions on that. And again, that's for your safety and for our safety. Because I remember after a party at the SUL, the Student Union building 2 years ago, a gentleman who came in totally intoxicated. He was so intoxicated that he ended up passing out in the corner of the building, and he started regurgitating indiscriminately. We had to call the ambulance to take him to the hospital. This is what happens. While in the hospital, they ended up giving him a psychiatric evaluation. So he was seen by a psychiatrist. And guess what? He had applied to the police department about 3 years ago. So they called him for an interview. He thought that he was in, only to be told that he had psychiatric problems. Ergo, the police department could not accept him. What's the lesson here? What's the lesson here? By the way, he ended up moving to Georgia, thinking that he could get into the police department there, and of course, guess what popped up? Psychiatric evaluation from that night when he decided to drink all that vodka. What's the lesson here? You are laughing. I'm sure you know something. Tell me.
I don't know.
Pray tell.
I don't know.
You know something. What's the lesson here?
No, I don't have
No lesson?
No.
No lesson? What have we learned here from that incident? Well, the bottom line is that you want to drink, we have no control over that. If you are 21, you can do it at home all you want. Although I would advise against it because eventually the cirrhosis of the liver develops and other stuff develops. By the way, the brain cells that are destroyed by alcohol, they do not regenerate. Do we know that? They do not come back. You lose them, and that's the extent of it. Anyway, anything else? Any question? We are located in the library building, room 418. We are there primarily to help you. And again, if you feel that anybody is disturbing you in any way, we need to know. We will address it, we promise you. Without safety, there can be no learning. Yes?
Two questions. I just want to know, is that policy was like a counseling or something?
What is it?
Counseling.
What about counseling?
Like if I have some trouble, I talk to you and you just make me feel comfortable.
Comfortable. We do have a counseling department, by the way. Oh, they are, okay, we do have a counseling department. We work collaboratively with them. We work collaboratively with them. Actually, I supervise that unit. Yes?
Actually, I want to know what's the boundary to define you steal other people's idea. For example, when I surfed the internet, I saw a quotation which is very fantastic. So I use it in my essay or in my academic writing. So would that be?
Did you say where you found it? Where you got it from?
Yeah, I found it in this
You
internet.
said where you got it from. By the way, I had a gentleman telling me the other day, a student from, not Clip, a student from QCC proper. He had to take the written test. He ended up regurgitating a whole essay written by somebody else, by a professional writer. Of course, the folks at Queens College who correct the test picked it up. They realized that it wasn't his writing. Do you know what his argument is? His argument is that he had memorized the piece of writing. Therefore, it was perfectly legal and okay for him to use. What's your impression of this? What's your reaction to that? He said he had memorized it, therefore it was perfectly fine to use it without giving credit to the original author.
I think in this case, if he memorized the whole essay and if he can change some of word, and I think it will be his essay because he wrote it and he didn't to copy other people.
Anybody else? That was his argument. That's interesting. Anybody else? Did you hear what he said? That it was perfectly fine to change a couple of words.
I think that he passed against the rules that it wasn't. If it's not his writing, he can't use. If it's not his writing, he can't use somebody else's writing. That's against the rules.
So what does he have to do?
I don't know.
He has to.
Awkward.
So he has
But
to
I don't know.
render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. You have to cite it. You have to say where you got it from. Who wrote the article? Yes. That is indeed. That is a case of plagiarism. Yes. That is a case of plagiarism. So just because you memorize somebody else's word, for instance, I cannot attribute Macbeth's soliloquy, tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps in this edifice. I cannot attribute that to me. I memorized it. I had to memorize it. But if I use it in a piece of writing or wherever I use it, I have to say that it was Shakespeare who had written it. It wasn't I. Okay, so just because you memorize something, it doesn't make it yours. It does not make it yours. It's very interesting you mentioned that. Yes, if he changes a few words, it's perfectly fine. I had that case. And it took me about a day to convince the gentleman that it's not yours. Just because you memorize it, it doesn't make it yours. By the way, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. By the way, I've had students lifted things from the internet and handed those things to the professor without reading them. Now, this is even worse. This is even worse. For instance, some basic skills. I have to share this with you. A gentleman failed to do his work. He went on the internet and picked up a piece of writing. This is a guy who's been failing the class. The final, he picked up a piece of writing from the internet about deafness and how being deaf has affected his life. Now, he wasn't deaf, So he handed in the piece of writing, the professor took it, and the professor felt very bad after reading it, thinking that, gee, this kid is deaf and I did not notice that. Of course, needless to say, he was promptly referred to me, and I had to go over the policy with him, and of course, he was suspended. That was the pinnacle of idiocy, because he never read the piece of writing and handed it in. It was about deafness. And he was as non-deaf as we are. Yes, one more question.
Yeah. How do you identify plagiarism? Is that including the idea or opinion?
How do you... Okay, I know what, I will share this with you. I don't know if that's your question. What I do know is that CUNY has given the professors about 10 to 12 different software that they can use to identify where a piece of writing is from. So regardless of what you do, what they do is that they put in a couple of paragraphs, and then the software will tell the professors where that piece of writing is from, whether it's yours or not.
Okay. You mean just copy from another person will be identified?
You're not allowed to.
Okay, sure. What if just a coincidence?
A coincidence? Okay. Unless, I don't know about you, unless I'm reading a Thomas Hardy novel, I don't believe in coincidences. With Thomas Hardy, you have people meeting each other all over the place. A lot of coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. That you would have the same thought, the same wording within the same paragraph. Unlikely. Yes. Last question.
Larry forgot the coincidence. If I just pick up the very wonderful paragraph or a sentence from this essay, I pick another from another, and to make my own. So as this are still.
You take one from column A, and you take another one from column B, and you combine them creatively. Does it become yours? So what's wrong? What's wrong with saying, according to author A, blah, 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 and author B happens to agree? That way you give credit, and what you show your professor is that you know how to make connections. Or sometimes the others do not agree. You say author B believes that the earth is flat, whereas author B believes that the earth is round. You are showing contrast. You are showing that you are able to deal with ambiguities. That's good. That's creative. But still, you are giving credit where credit is due. You are doing research.
So opinion is not so derived, not stealing opinion. Just happen to have the same opinion with you. It's not plagiarism.
The same opinion is perfectly fine, but it's going to be stated in your own words.
Yeah.
Voila. Yes. Yes. Okay, it was a distinct pleasure. Thank you very much. Take care.
And thank you, Dr. Jones. Okay, so we'll have more discussions, I think, about plagiarism and other questions. Is there anything from teachers before you go back while we're all here? Okay. Can I just ask, I know there are some teachers absent. Who are they today? Leela and Zach. Leela and Zach. And Monica. Hi, Susan. Okay, we'll see you back at class.